Hi and welcome to Conversations with Robin. And today's guest is Craig McWhirter. Craig, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Robin.
Excellent, and thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're absolutely welcome. And your main passion in life is the environment.
The environment and climate change and the things we can do about it, the things we aren't doing about it.
Okay, and because obviously we want to find out where your journey started and why it started. However, let's just look at the big picture as in now. So what is it that you're doing in the now moment as far as your contribution to the planet and sustainability?
Well, there's a number of things. There's the personal aspects, things I'm doing in my life, things that everyone can do, and there's things that I'm doing in my life that are broader. So there's your everyday things, solar heating at home, keeping your energy down, public transport when you can. I'm growing a hemp crop through the New South Wales government. That's part of my own carbon sequestration, as also as providing a textile opportunity. It's a diversion from cotton, which is much more harmful to the environment. There's also,
and we'll come back to the hemp.
Yep. And there's also the much broader things, is trying to spread awareness for climate change, what people can do, and I don't feel like government's necessarily taking the right action, so I'm trying to make people aware of what they're not doing and what they could be doing on the broader scale.
And you've been a bit of an activist in the Northern Beaches area on that level, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well let's go back to the personal journey. Born and bred Northern Beaches?
Yes.
Of Sydney? Okay, and what was your family background like?
I'd say it was a typical Northern Beaches suburban upbringing. Quarter acre block in Motorvale. Grew up, went to the local schools, local primary school, local high school, football, surf clubs, surfing.
Okay, so when you were at school, I remember I read some of the information you wrote about yourself for a presentation you did, and it was saying that as a kid your parents were a little bit concerned about you. Why was that?
They thought I was a bit too quiet. I lacked necessary spark. That was very early primary school days.
And what happened with the school? Cleaner, was it?
Well, yeah, I turned up school early, trying to study, and I was cramming for an exam or something in 5th grade. And the teacher wouldn't let myself and a friend study before class. She was busy cleaning. So we got a stick and put it through the latch and locked her in the classroom.
And what happened?
Oh, we got in trouble, of course, and hauled before the principal, and yeah, we were terrified.
Wow.
It was a bit of a childish prank, really, to lock her in out of spite, but we felt vindicated, and the principal was hauling us, and we were terrified. I'd never been before a principal before, hence that spark we were talking about.
And it's interesting because you were actually doing it because you wanted to study.
Yeah.
Which is, but your parents were actually secretly very proud, weren't they?
They were. They didn't show it to me at the time, and they told me years later, but they said they were holding back the laughter. I was terrified, but they were laughing. They were just happy to see a little bit of spark, and as far as they were concerned, I actually really hadn't done anything particularly.
It's interesting, given that was how you appeared as a young boy, and yet now what you're doing in the world is kind of out there.
Yeah, I don't think that lasted too long. I was not really a troublemaker, but the spark grew through there, and I wasn't so quiet through high school or anything like that.
Well, what happened in high school?
Yeah, just typical teenage things. But I started to get more and more interested in politics and the world, and that came through music and it came through reading. And a lot of my peers were all heavily involved in at least political ideals and things that were going on. And there was also part of the education in school as well. So being in the mid-80s, you had the nuclear disarmament protests, all those things that were going on that we weren't part of, but we were certainly aware of.
With Midnight Oil and different bands?
Big influence, and Spy versus Spy. And so much more, they expressed the passions that we felt in a musical terms, so we could relate to the music and the lyrics. Okay. And they were big inspirations. And
also, you've been part of the Surf Life Saving Association for how many years now?
Close to 20, I think.
Okay, so that was a huge awareness on the environment with the oceans?
Yeah, subconsciously you don't realise it. It's not too much older you look back and you realise that yourself and everyone else who's involved in that area, because the amount of time you spend out in the open, on the water, on the beach, you know a lot of what's happening in your environment without actually being overtly environmental about it.
Yep, and a board rider for how many years?
Yeah, that's probably since I was about 8, so 25 years or so.
Okay, so huge awareness of the environment. As you say, often on an unconscious level, but being out and about in it, which by the way, we've got the lovely view here.
Yeah, it's great. You see the ocean, you see things, you read things, you look at clouds, you know what's going on. You don't realise you've gathered all these skills and knowledge, but you do. And so when things are different, you start to take notice.
Okay. So you left school, and what did you do as far as work went?
Yeah, well, the school, the education of school is actually a good point. We were educated in school that all these things were going to be taken care of, the environment, climate change, the end of nuclear power, so things was all being done. So you left school feeling a bit secure about the world. So I joined the workforce, ended up basically stumbling into IT and having an IT career, thinking that all the changes that would need to be done in the world were
Being
taken care of. Yeah.
Not across things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you found that not that long ago that wasn't the case.
Well, yeah, you keep going along, you're waiting for things to change, you expect things to improve, and you're busy in your own life, your own career. I started a family as well, and I had a mortgage from about the age of 22, so financial pressures start to take priority. But over time, you can't help ignoring that things aren't going the way they should be, and things aren't being taken into hand, and you start to sort of get a build-up of frustration at the lack of action.
So obviously what I'm hearing is you're a pretty responsible sort of guy, and you're pretty responsible from quite a young age. I'm curious, was there a passion or a purpose that you felt you were born into as a young kid or a teenager?
The closest I would get to that is what I'm doing now, when I'm moving into politics. That's always something that's been in the background of my mind. Not something I always acted on, but certainly from my teenage years when we were all fired up and angry, I felt I needed to get in and make a difference. But when I left school, by the time I was in the workforce, mortgage, I let it come on the back burner. And I sort of shoveled it in the back room for a while, and
Okay, and we'll find out a little bit more of that, further down the interview. So you're out there working in IT for various employers, and then you decided it was time to go out and have your own business, so to speak.
Yeah, that was a matter of timing as well. I probably by that time spent about, say, 14, 16 years working in IT, and right in the IT boom that was there, and just sort of no tertiary education, just self-taught all the way.
University of Life?
University of Life, and every time I got a new job, you get it on your merits. People would say, I would sit in interviews and go, I don't know this technology. And the people would look at you and go, well, I think you can learn it. And that's the way the industry worked. But yeah, in about 2004, we got made redundant. So you have a little bit of money behind you, and you're like, right, what am I going to do? So I started my own business because I didn't feel I really could be in a corporate environment any longer.
A lot of restrictions.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel constrained by the people above you, and you've got choices to make, and I chose to work for myself.
Now, one of the things you were telling me about having your own business, that you use that free software thingy. Could you?
Yeah, free
share
software,
that?
Linux.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to describe in a nutshell, but it's basically a complete replacement for commercial software like Microsoft. And so pretty much everything you do on a Microsoft environment that you pay for, even if you think it comes free with your computer, it's all part of the price, is replaced with free software running on Linux. And that's contributed by people all over the world. So certain people can do this part and this part, and they all get together and put it together, and it makes a full whole operating system.
I was amazed to hear that you said that the business world has been aware of this and utilising this for a long time, but the general public isn't aware of it.
Well, that's right. The business has been, because that's where a lot of people with the skills are being employed, they want to save money, they want to do things better, more reliably. So a lot of businesses using free software. If you took out, for example, all the free software from the internet, you couldn't even send someone an email.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and some businesses have known that for a long time.
Yeah.
Depending on your business, some are only just getting it now, some have had it for 10, 20 years. Depends on where they're at in the world. So free software is running the place, but your home users don't necessarily know about it because you're driven by the retail market, and the retail market is pretty much sold up by companies selling you things and advertising you things, and free software is a community product, and so there's no money behind it. That's changing, but it's,
And yet a lot of the community, apart from the business community, doesn't know about it.
That's right.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. What's that website again
Which
that
one?
people can go into to get the software?
Oh, the free software provider that I use is Ubuntu, which is an African word for, it means something along the lines of man's humanity to man.
How do you spell it?
Ubuntu is Ubuntu. Ubuntu.
Yeah, how do you spell it?
Ubuntu.com.
Okay, remember that one, and checking out free software, because that's part of, I think, the sustainability and the sharing on the planet. We'll take a break and we'll come back and find out more of what Craig's doing. Back with you.